Hi guys, you're gonna excuse my eyes because I'm currently cooking and it's like 10:15. But if I cook now, then I'll have it easy on Monday. Yeah, so today I went out to lunch with a friend, and last week I went to lunch with another friend, and just a few things that we were talking about has just made me like want to come here and share some thoughts that I had. So basically, last week and a bit I went out with my friend, and she was just basically telling me that when she's in doubt, look, she's gonna seek truth. She will no longer assume, because obviously assumptions could be wrong, and that leads to a far bigger problem than the seed of it is. Wherever she's just gonna like pause, like whatever the situation is, she's gonna pause there, right? And that just made me think about when toddlers there, when you are in conflict so this is essentially for stepmoms, right? When you're in conflict with like a high conflict birth mom, or even maybe members of extended family, people that are just not inside your home. Do you know what? I'm gonna start with me, right? So I've had experience with high conflict and passive aggressiveness. My husband's telling off the kitties. I've had experience with passive aggressiveness and indirects and high conflict situations, and that, like, you get into a place of, but why are they behaving like this? What have I done? What could be the reason? What are the triggers? Like, there's so much room for assumption, because the communication between yourself and that person that's causing the conflict between you is poor. So you don't have the opportunity to, like my friend said, seek truth. And for me, like in my situation, I didn't have the opportunity to seek truth. And the kind of assumptions that I had were some of the usual assumptions that I won't name, because excuse me, stop it. I won't name because I want to speak with tact here, and respect where I can, but still be able to tell the truth of my situation and my perspective. It helps that it would maybe help you, or help you to like consider your thoughts. So I assumed many things, some basic things where you've got a high conflict ex, right? You know, the basic things that we tend to think of. Stop. Sorry, I had to bribe my son to get out, making too much noise. But yeah, you assume so much, and there's no way to ever. Okay, so basically you get into a place of assuming all these things, right? And we all think differently. We all dramatize things. We all get swept away with our emotions. But the point is that in our assumptions, it stirs up these emotions, right? It stirs up emotions that are already indwelling in you, but haven't been triggered, that you may know. Sometimes you think that, I'm bothered, I'm cool, I can't be fazed. And then something small or even big happens, and you realize that actually you're very angry. You can be very irrational. You're very like tearful at this moment, and you can even like throw yourself off, like, whoa, like, why do I care so much? I didn't know. But my point is when you get to a place of assuming, it kicks up these emotions, right? And your emotions have nowhere to land. So how do you begin to rationalize these emotions? Because your assumptions may not be true. And so if you do not have, sorry, my husband's just popping off. But if you do not have the opportunity to validate your assumptions, even to a point where you throw them away because you know that it wasn't true, what do you then do? How are you able to rationalize your emotions and make them land? How are you able to deal with them? And so for me, I constantly found myself in a place of having to let go and let live, right? But these emotions are still indwelling inside of me, like they're still floating in any given moment, or like a pile up of something else that happens is going to exacerbate these emotions that I have inside of me. So let's name the emotion anger, right? So I'm angry in one instance, and then I haven't been able to rationalize my anger to then just dismantle it and throw it away, right? So I've settled it in the dust, but something kicks up the dust again. So I'm angry again. And the angriness or the anger is culminating, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then it becomes, it manifests into anxiety or depression, or, wanting to withdraw, or I don't know, like it manifests in a way that you would not like it to manifest. It pulls you out of your character and you start to lose control, right? So this is basically what I had to do, like when seeking truth was not available to me. I have to think to myself, okay, this is the situation. As a Christian, I want to do everything as I'm doing it unto the Lord, right? And so how would the Lord want me to behave in this situation? So I can be angry, but I am not to sin. This is what scripture tells me. So I'm gonna be angry, right? But I need to take my mind off what is causing me to be angry. I need to now begin a process of rationalizing my anger to remove it so that it does not stay within me and it doesn't cause my heart to grow hard, okay? So what I do is I pray for that person. Another thing that we need to be mindful of is that all of us live in such an individuality mindset where it's me, 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 me. And it's not even in a selfish way, but it's in a sense of everything that I do in my life affects me. And so I'm going to do the things that I need to do that will build up my life, or to make me better, or to heal me, or to fix me, me, in that sense, like a little bit self-obsessed, right? But regardless of how individualistic we think of ourselves, everything we do affects other people. And the prime example of this is Adam and Eve, right? When they were sinning, when they did their individual sins, it impacted one and the other. But then it impacted generations to this present day. We are still suffering the consequences of Adam and Eve's sin. Good. And then the next example is, and this is basically what I was talking about with a girlfriend tonight. And then the next example is just our parents, yeah? All of us that are in therapy now, or we're trying to seek some kind of answer, like where we're dealing with childhood trauma, whether our parents intentionally did good or intentionally did bad or sinned or whatever they did, all of their actions, all of what they said, how they raised us, it has the consequence of it is seen in us. So I say all of that to say this, right? Everything that I do as a stepmom will affect my family, okay? Or will affect my stepsons, okay? I may not always be able to map when and how or what those consequences will look like, but we already know that parents that indulge in conflict, that like the drama, or step mums that indulge in the conflict as well, or are wicked, right? They do affect their stepchildren, and sometimes they even affect their birth children. And for sure, like in high conflict situations in blended families, the spouse affects the other one, like involuntarily sometimes, because we are all family. However you want to, come to terms with that, That's the fact of the matter. So I'm thinking to myself now, how can I be responsible for myself so that I can also be conscious of the effects it's going to have on other members of my family? So that's one thing that I consider, because in all that I do want to please the Lord, and in all that I want to do it as I'm doing it to God. Because if I start thinking about doing it for other people, I'm going to be in a state of discontentment all the days of my life. Okay, because we are all flawed human beings, and the kind of gratitude that the expectancy of gratitude that we place on our children, our spouses, our friends, and so on and so forth is sometimes unfounded. Like, I this is something that I always tell my children, and I tell my close friends, that don't place your expectations on anybody. All you really should be doing is holding them to the expectations that Christ holds us to, right? And okay, but I digress. Yeah. So that's the first thing. Yeah. I want to be very sober minded about the way I respond and who is around me at the time. Good. The second thing is I pray. Like, I pray for the person that has rattled me, and I pray for this person for a few reasons, right? Because I believe that we're, like, all of our actions affect one another, and the consequences, they don't belong to one person. We all feel it. I pray for peace for that person, because whatever the reason is that they are lashing out, it's because their peace has been rattled. It could be because of me. It could be because of my spouse. It could have been because of something someone said, something that they saw. Whatever the reason is, where I don't have the opportunity to seek truth. Yeah. So I'm not going to assume. I'm going to look for the facts, and the facts is that this person's peace has been rattled. So I'm praying for that person's peace to be restored, because if that person is back in a peaceful space, we are going to feel the effects of that. The conflict is going to simmer or go, right? The second reason why I pray is because it takes the focus off of me. I have the opportunity to get over myself. I have the opportunity to get over my feelings. And I have the opportunity to zone in on how the other person is feeling. And within that, getting over myself and praying for the other person, I'm practicing compassion. I'm practicing empathy. I'm trying to, or beginning a process of being able to put myself in that person's shoes. And where compassion abounds, the behavior will follow. Like, the behavior that is warranted will follow. And so it's a thing of, I now feel compassionate towards this person. My anger, like, compassion and anger, it can't be in the same space at the same time. You're either feeling compassionate towards someone, or you're feeling angry towards someone. And if you're able to show and feel compassion to someone that has angered you, your anger will dissolve. It will dissolve, and it will be removed. And so even if another situation arises and your human self wants to be angry, that's fine. But we know that we are not going to sin in this instance. But also, it's not a compiling of anger. We've resolved this scenario. Should another scenario arise, we're going to resolve this in the same way. But what I will say is, if you are a stepmom or a person in a high conflict situation and you have the opportunity to seek truth, 100% do that. Do that. For whatever your end goal is, let your end goal be, for as so much as it concerns you, live peaceably with all men. Okay, this is what the Bible tells us. As so far as it concerns you, live peaceably with all men, right? So there's going to be people that are down for the conflict. That's fine. But you, as so far as it concerns you, good night, babes. Yeah, so far as it concerns you, to live peaceably with all men. So yeah, basically what I'm saying is there needs to be a grounding of peace around you and how you interact with people. This is the character that you want to build on. You want to be peaceable. You want to be compassionate. You don't want a hard heart. You want a soft heart. Yeah. Where God has replaced our heart of stone for a heart of flesh, let's not revert back to hardening our hearts because of somebody else. Let's not let somebody else's sinful behavior or, you know, emotionally unhinged behavior, or for whatever reason they've lost their peace in this situation. Let's not let their conflict have a consequence for us. Okay, where now we're repenting because we became angry and we sinned in that anger and we started calling out somebody else's name and we were using foul language and we were gossiping and we were calling up other people, and this person, can you believe it, ta 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 ta. And trust and believe, I've been that person. I've sent screenshots, I've called, I've said, look at this person. I've been there, right? So I'm not even talking from a place of I've never been there before. I've been there and I'm at a place of overcoming. You're gonna hear in many videos that I, you know, call myself the unbothered stepmom. And really, I'm just giving you the facts of how I got to this space. When you're concerned, like, I'm talking to Christians now, right? When your concern is Christ and wanting to please him and wanting to live in obedience to him, everything becomes smaller. As you magnify the Lord, everything else becomes smaller. And when you find yourself magnifying things above the Lord, check yourself. Yeah? Recalibrate. Come back to one, right? And then refocus. Because the end goal here is to honor the Lord in our speech and in our acts, right? We want to love. We want to show the fruits of the Spirit, right? We want to be good representatives of the kingdom. And even though we will fail, yep, and we will slip up, there's redemption for us, okay, in salvation. Yeah, God has forgiven our past, our present, and our future sins. Let's honor that. Let's honor that by striving to do good. Okay, striving to please the Lord, striving to love one another, striving to stay in to have a heart that forgives, striving to be compassionate, striving to and pray for one another. These are the things that we want to use our energy on. Yeah, to strive for what is good, for what God considers good, right? So yeah, when I go back to edit, I'm going to see if I rambled, but hopefully I was coherent and I made sense. And that was my Sunday night musings. I'm going to go back to cooking my jollof rice and seeing these kids off to bed. Okay? Okay, cool. Oh. Mommy, yes.